everybody, it's Allie again. Welcome back to day number 4 of my Christmas card series for 2018. Today we're going to use a variety of Catherine Pooler Designs products. We have some of her brand new paper, Love Doves and Poinsettias. We're going to use her new Woodgrain stamp. We're also going to use this gorgeous die set. This is brand spanking new. And we're going to throw in some Simon Says Stitch Slopes and Hills. Let's go and have some fun. So I started by creating a top fold card. This measures 4 1/4 by 11 and it is scored at 5.5 to create a top folding card. So I'll set that aside. I always use 110-pound paper because I like the heavy cardstock for my card bases. Then I went and took our large circle die and I cut that out along with the tree and the 2 deer images. I also die cut the base for our globe, and this die cut has some really cool embossed lines. It's hard to catch it on camera, but they're built into that die. Then I also went and put my 2 circle dies together and cut it all at once to create a frame. So we'll use this on another project, and so that will go on top of there. And I cut one final piece of the large circle again, and we're going to use this for our foreground. So I'm just going to set that aside and we'll work with that in a minute. All right, let's get to inking our background up. So before I choose a background color for my sky, I'm going to go back to our pattern papers that we're going to use for the backgrounds of our cards. I've chosen these 2 prints, this pretty one with the doves and the flourishes, and this one here with the poinsettias and some greenery. And I'm going to pull one of the colors that's literally out of this paper so that everything ties together. The awesome thing about Catherine Pooler's paper packages is that she puts all of her ink colors that are in those pattern papers actually right on the packaging. So with the Love Doves and Poinsettias, it goes great with Rockin' Red, Peppermint Scrub, Grass Skirt, Garden Party, Melon Ice, and Spruce. So I think I'm going to go with Garden Party. It's a nice light green, and that's what we're going to use for our sky. All right, let's go and do some inking. I've got our largest die cut circle, and this is the Glorious Green ink by Catherine Pooler Designs. And I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. I want a very, very light blend. The hill that we're going to put in the foreground is going to block the bottom, so I'm just going to kind of use it as my inking off part. I'm going to put my extra ink down at the base and work my way up into that circle. You do not need a lot of ink. Catherine's ink pads are so wonderfully juicy that I'm barely even touching the ink pad to my ink applicator here. And I'm just, it's almost like I want a glow. Just a slight glow of green. I know it's not a traditional sky color, but these are Christmas cards. This is just having fun. This is what I'm out here to do. I'm just here to have fun. So I'm going to bring in my partial. Once again, this is the same size circle as this. I'm going to grab one of those stitched hill dies from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm going to cut this out of this partial piece. This is a great way to use scraps up, by the way. So what this does, there's a stitched line below and a cut line above. And I'm going to do it fairly high. I want some area to put a tree and my deer on. So that looks about good. I'm going to secure this with a piece of Post-it tape. Take it to my die cutter and I'll be right back. And voila, that's our little hillside for our card. So let's start assembling our scene. Let's attach our hill to start. I like to use my ATG. There's lots of great adhesives out there. Use whatever you love. Okay, just making sure my adhesive is tucked in behind there. And I'm going to stick that down to our circle. Now we have our little die cut elements. We have our tree and our two cute little deer. Now I contemplated actually adding some color to them, but you know what? I thought I'd keep this focal point rather simple. So I decided I'll just keep them white. So now let's play with our elements here. You can put them any old way you wish. Something like that looks good. Now remember, we've got a frame to go on the outside here, so keep that in mind. I'm going to bring in my 3M foam adhesive here. We're going to bump up our elements. So the nice thing with this is that you can customize the length, the width, whatever you kind of need. So that's why I love it. So I'm not 100% if I want to add color to my frame or not, so we're going to leave it white for the moment. And let's go and do our card front. So we've got one more element that we need to build our little globes. And so we've got our bases all die cut out, and we're going to use the new Woodgrain background stamp. I'm going to use this gorgeous brown icing on the cake. And I don't need a very big spot, but I'm going to find an interesting spot with some different lines. Let's go down to the base of the stamp here. And of course, our base for the globe isn't very big, so I'm just going to do a section because that's all I need. There's no need to ink it up where I don't need to. So I'm going to drop that piece in, bring my piece of scrap paper in, and just give it a good rub. Not only does this save my poor fingers from getting inky, but it allows me to press all of those raised areas because there's indentations in that die. There we go. See them a little bit there. Allows that ink to touch all those lovely things. So there we go. I'm going to do my other one, and then I think we'll add a little bit more brown to this. We'll do that in 1 second. We're going to continue to use our little scrap piece of paper here. I'm just going to take our die cut, and I put a little bit of adhesive down there to just hold it down. And we're going to use our sandcastle ink and make it just a little bit more brown so it's not so stark white. All right, I'm going to go get my ink blender, and away we go. Blend it to your little heart's content until you get the effect that you want. So there is our base, all ready for our card. And look, see the groove that it left? It left that detail so that you didn't press that mark into the stamp set. Very cool. All right, on with assembly. All right, we've got our card base, our pattern paper, top, frame, and base. Let's put her together. This is meant to be a really simple, fairly easy to duplicate or create multiple cards at once. You could very easily do all of your inking, do all of your everything in sequences. So, you know, cut all your background pieces of paper, then you die cut all of your circles. Really, really, really easy to mass produce. We're going to put on our globe topper. I'm pretty generous with my adhesive. I plan to sell these cards, so I want them to be sturdy and not fall apart. Alright, so find your happy place on your card. Make sure it looks good. Then press it down. And for this, I'm going to use some wet glue. This is actually Ranger Multi-Matte Medium in a squeezable container with a fine-tipped applicator. Just works easier for me. Although it's getting fairly low, I should probably buy some more medium and fill it up again. All right, there we go. Whee! Okay. Now I'll tell you, sometimes with dies, especially when you can't snip off all the little itty bitty parts of the dies on a curve, sometimes you get nubby edges on your paper. You get indentations on your paper. The easiest thing to do is to take whatever you've cut. So my frames had a little bit of warpedness to them. I took a piece of just good old copy paper, folded it in half. I quite often use stuff that has writing on it, just because I repurposed some of my old computer file printings. And I folded it in half and inserted it in the folded part of the paper and passed it through my machine. And it basically will flatten everything out again for you. So if you're finding that some of your work has a texture or has dimples or something that you don't like about it, sandwich it between a piece of copy paper and throw it into your die cutting machine. Yeah, you know what? It works brilliantly. And it's super fast. All right, so I'm just going to lift this just a tiny bit just to tuck in my base, like so. There we go. And one final thing, we're going to put on a sentiment, so we have to find one of those. And yes, I quite often leave my sentiments till last because I'm just like that. So let's pull out the Misty and I'll show you the beauty of the Misty. I also wanted to show you these fun dies that were just released into the Catherine Pooler Design store. These are called the Winter Haven dies. Aren't they adorable? These would work perfectly with this die set because they're perfectly sized to fit within this globe. So if you're looking for some cute dies to go with the deer and the tree and everything, perfect way to add something to your collection. And also released with those dies last year with the Stamp of Approval box were the 'Tis the Season stamps. And this is the sentiment that we're going to add to our card. 'Tis the season. Aren't these pretty? And there's matching dies for these ones as well. So I've put everything into my mini Misty here. This is the beauty of the mini Misty. Like, I have all kinds of layers. And if I were to take a block or anything, I might actually touch these with my ink. So this saves my biscuit every time. I'm going to use some Rockin' Red ink. Love this red. It's so awesome. I'm going to do one more application. I just want to intensify that color just a bit. It's stamped perfectly the first time though. So there we go. Voila. 'Tis the season. And look, haha, I have the second card already put together. This one's a little bit more subtle in color. So I used the lighter colored base and the lighter colored background. And I'm going to move that up just a tiny bit. There we go. 'Tis the season. We'll do that one twice. And there we go. 2 super easy Christmas cards to send to someone special. So, dig through your dies from last year or the season before, or visit the Catherine Pooler store for all kinds of new inspiration and new goodies. Thanks for joining me today. Thanks for all the comments and the thumbs up. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to you coming back again. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.